Hello, everyone. So, before I begin, I would like to clarify that you are not going to see me being all braggadocious in this video. You are not going to see me acting smug or condescending or anything like that. And the reason for that it has nothing to do with the final score. It has more to do with the fact that when I decided to start making these videos for this season, I told myself that I was should this result come to pass, and Michigan would emerge victorious, that I was not going to brag about this win. And the reason I'm not going to do that is because ultimately the restoration of the natural order is nothing to brag about. So with that in mind, let's get on to the game here. I don't think Michigan played their best game today, which is not to say they played bad. They did not play bad by any means. They played, I'll give them a overall grade of like a B- or so. They weren't spectacularly good, they weren't spectacularly bad, but they did play a good game. So when I say they didn't play their best game, I say that in the sense that I do think there are some things that they could have done better on both sides of the ball, but more so on defense and offense. I think there are things that they can, should, and will get cleaned up as they move along in the season. And I say this in reference to the fan expectations, which have now been forced to basically go through the roof. So when I say that Michigan didn't play their best game, I say that in the sense that, oh, you won by 9 points, you probably should have won by like 20 or 30. Things of that nature. And time will tell if this was just a case of Michigan State getting up for this game, or if Michigan performs not as optimally on the road as they do at home, which could very well be the case, or if there's issues with the team that need to be addressed and fixed. We will see. Right now it's too early to kind of decipher what all this means. But nonetheless, as they say, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And this team, I think we knew Michigan State, despite their struggles this year, they were going to get up for this game. They were going to come out and punch Michigan in the mouth, and for the most part, Michigan just smiled and kept on going. So, with that in mind, let's talk about the game here. And first, I want to address Michigan State, because I know there were a whole bunch of Sparties who watched my video on this last year for reasons that are now all too obvious. So, just in case they are watching now, I want to address this team here. I predicted that Michigan State was going to take a step back this season. But if you came here and told me that at the conclusion of this matchup, which I did peg Michigan to win from the beginning of the season, if you sat here and told me that after this matchup was finished, Michigan State would be sitting at 2-6 and 0-5 in conference play, I would have called you crazy. The regression that we have seen from Michigan State this season is just astounding. This team has gone from winning the Big Ten and going to the playoff to not Purdue or Rutgers level of bad, but still bad. And I look at this team, and I'm actually getting flashbacks to the 2014 Michigan squad, in the sense that, here's what I mean. The team is awful. And you have playmakers on this squad in the form of people like R.J. Scott, R.J. Shelton, Malik McDowell, Brian Lewerke, who I think does have a bright future. I mean, he definitely has promise. You have these guys who, they're going out there, and they are trying to win. They're trying to do it their all, but honestly, it's just hard to do when you know you're playing with a bunch of guys that just aren't on your level. And both Michigan and Michigan State play a lot of freshmen. The difference, though, is that Michigan plays its freshmen because it can. Because Harbaugh feels they have earned the starting job, or because they're up by like 30 or 40 points and they want to rest the starters. Michigan State plays their freshmen because they have to, because a lot of their guys are injured or they're just not panning out, and they need to find some kind of solution here. Now, I know this is more apparent at quarterback. We did see all three quarterbacks today. Ironically enough, only the second and third stringers were the ones that got hurt. Tyler O'Connor was benched. And I think, honestly, at this point, you have to finish the season with Brian Lewerke. Because Tyler O'Connor, he just can't get it done. And R.J. Scott, I do want to say this guy is a legit running back. And the fact that he was able to put up yardage on this defense, and with an offensive line as anemic as he is, it's nothing short of Herculean. So, I mean, you got that going for you, but at the end of the day, it's just not going to be enough to win this game. And I do give Michigan State credit. They came out fighting like we knew they would. I anticipated that we would see this team, and, they scored 23 points. That's about 23 points more than anyone expected. I would argue, though, that about 6 of those were given to them by the refs, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. But ultimately, though, the outcome of this game just never even seemed in doubt. Because even at the end of the game, where Michigan seemed to default to their game plan last year against Michigan State, which is, dominate and control the first half, then kind of let them back into the game in the second half. And, well, we all saw how that worked out last year, so why it happened again, I don't know. But I don't hold the defense responsible for that last touchdown, but again, I'll get to that in a little bit. At the same time, it just felt to me the whole game that the outcome was it wasn't going to be in doubt. That the mismatch is just too great. So to all the State fans watching, I do sincerely hope that you found something today to cheer about, something to make you feel good. Maybe you can count us some moral victory because you played Michigan close. You got to within 9 points in garbage time, mind you, but still 9 points. I mean, that's grounds for applause right there. And that's after losing 2 of your 3 quarterbacks. So I hope you found something in this game to hold on to cheer to, and to make the next year of gloating and jokes and insults that bit more bearable for you. But yeah, only time will tell if this is going to be the start of a new downward trend for Michigan State. I reserve my right on that because I think Mark D'Antonio is simply too good of a coach to let this team drop off a cliff like this. Though, having said that, he did make some very, very questionable decisions in this game that I would expect from a James Franklin or a Brady Hoke, but not necessarily Mark D'Antonio. So I definitely do think there's some warning signs of Michigan State. The recruiting clearly isn't panning out like they hoped it would. But again, time is going to tell if this is just a bump in the road or if this is the start of a serious long-term problem. I do think they're going to end up playing second fiddle to Ohio State and Michigan for the foreseeable future, though. But that's more of a credit to Ohio State and Michigan than a knock on Michigan State. But again, we will see how time will tell, so we'll see. Okay, enough about Michigan State. Let's go over to Michigan now. I would give the defense a B in this game, in the sense that I don't think they necessarily did a bad job, but there were things they could have done better. R.J. Shelton, as I said, did put up yards there. Michigan State finished the game with about 401 yards total offense. I mean, that's decent. I think we haven't seen a team since Colorado put up that number of yards. And if you look at the numbers here, where the heck did I put my mouse? Oh, here we go. This keyboard said. If you look at the numbers, they rushed for 217 yards on 42 attempts. That's 5.2 yards per rush. It's actually about 0.6 yards better than Michigan, who got 4.6 yards per attempt on 42 attempts for 92 yards. So, I mean, that's pretty good against this defense. And a lot of that was R.J. Scott, who is a very, very good running back. He's probably the best in this conference after Saquon Barkley. And their quarterbacks, Tyler O'Connor in particular, does have some legs. He can make something happen there, which I think he's got a bright future there. But I think the Michigan defensive line, they came very blitz heavy today. And ultimately, it wasn't so much that Michigan State made them pay, because they only got the 2 touchdowns that I consider to be legitimate. And we'll get to that joke. Again, we'll get to that joke of the third one later on. The first one was R.J. Scott in the first series running it in. So, Michigan's still starting defense. The second one was after what probably should have been an overturned call, because if you didn't see the play, the ball was thrown very low, and it appeared to bounce off the turf of the turf before into the hands of the receiver. But it is what it is. Not to mention the play before that, Michigan State literally rolled the ball backwards on the snap, and Lewerke had to kneel down to grab it, which of course means it's down. And now it's just like, what the hell is that? But I digress. That touchdown, though, was set up by a bust in coverage from Jordan Lewis, which is very atypical of Jordan Lewis. It's not something he customarily does. By the way, he had a hell of a game today as well. He had an interception, which again just proves throwing to Jordan Lewis is a bad idea. And he was also in there a lot of stops and is able to enforce secondary. So he had a pretty good game as well. And again, I know it's just a case where the score, it's closer, but the game was never really that close. The scores in the game were mainly due to, again, the first series and a very unusual bust from Jordan Lewis. But that's football. It tends to happen. The pass D, though, was really, really stout. State did have 184 yards on the air, throwing for 6.6 yards per pass, but for the most part, they finished with a completion rating of slightly under 50%. They couldn't really get a whole lot going there in the pass department. Jabril Peppers, can we just stop pretending like the Heisman talk is overhyped? I don't know if he'll win, but I think by now it's obvious he's going to be heading to New York at the end of the season. He had 7 pass breakups, I believe. He had 1 sack. He almost had an interception, but he absolutely had a monster game today. He got a 4th down stop by himself. Team got several 4th down stops, by the way. And again, there was some questionable calling from Mark Antonio, who a couple times let to go for field goal, and I think he missed both times. He may have made it once, but yeah, a couple instances of Mark Antonio, I really question that decision. But nonetheless, like I said, the defense not up to its usual caliber today, but it didn't play bad by any stretch of the imagination. It basically did what it had to do, and it held them out of the end zone for the most part of the game. And the 2 times it did hold to the end zone was the first series, and again, a really rare bust from Jordan Lewis, so I don't hold that against them. But anyway, the reason I never felt the game was really in doubt was because it was very obvious that Michigan State's offense just could not stop, or Michigan State's defense rather just couldn't stop Michigan's offense. I think we need to talk about more Michigan's offense because they're not explosive or flashy like other offenses in the country, but they are incredibly efficient. Michigan scored on every single drive it had in the first half. It didn't even punt until the 4th quarter. So when it comes to Michigan's offense, it's not about explosiveness. It's not about, having superstars make every play. It's about being efficient. They move the ball around. They find new ways to come at you. They keep you off balance. They make it almost impossible to prepare for. And they took advantage of Michigan State's absolutely anemic secondary. Having said that, State actually did get a pick out of it, so I don't know how that happened. But though that was after the announcer said that Spate had only thrown 2 picks on the year. So I'm pretty sure at this point, every time Spate throws a pick, it's because the announcers have jinxed him. So to all announcers, can we just stop talking about the fact he has only 3 interceptions on the year? I mean, seriously. But outside of that, Spate actually had a good game. See if I can get his stats up here. All right, here we go. Spate went 6-25 for 244 yards, averaged 9.8 yards per pass, and only one pick. I mean, that's about as good as you can expect from him in a road game like that. The rushing attack, once again, absolutely stellar. McDoom had 2 carries. He actually had the longest run today at 33 yards, right on both yards too at 53. Davion Smith, 2 rushing touchdowns. Peppers, once again, came in an offense in the Wildcat formation. Speaking of offensive formations, like I said, we saw a bit more of the Harbaugh offense today. Had Peppers in the Wildcat a few times. We had the return of the train formation this time, throwing a bomb to Jake Butt down at the 1-yard line or thereabouts. We also saw the Shane Morris sweep, which is this really interesting play where Shane hands the ball off to the run back, and then comes out to act as a blocker for the running back. And that's not something that you see a lot of quarterbacks do. I personally have no problem with that play. I just don't think it's quite ready to be deployed in primetime situations like this one. But I do like that play. I'd like to see it a bit more often once it becomes more efficient. But on receiving today, Amara Darbo had an absolutely stellar game. 8 receptions for 165 yards, averaged 20 yards per reception. That was just absolutely stellar. So, yeah, like I said, that really to me is the story of the game in the sense that even when the defense wasn't playing at its usual excellent caliber, the offense was going to get it done. They were going to put points on the board. Even though they took their the foot off the gas in the second half, like they did last year, and it's not something I agree with, especially against these guys, because even doubting their scrappiness, Michigan fans still want to see us put up points on Michigan State every time we play them. And Northwestern got 54 on these guys, and we got a little over halfway there. Kind of disappointed in that, to be honest with you. So, yeah, but even so, the offense was just efficient, and they were just moving the ball at will. So even when they had to settle for field goals in the second half again, I never really felt that the game was going to get out of hand, because at that point, Michigan State just wasn't able to move the ball at all. Or when they were, they couldn't get it into the end zone. They couldn't even get points on the board. So it was ultimately just too big of a hole to climb up. And with that in mind, let's talk about the last minute or so. What should have been a draw. Now, I'm not going to try and deny that Tyler O'Connor had some nice heroics there at the end, marching down the field. But that was helped out a lot by penalties. First of all, you had a personal foul, roughing the passer on Chris Wormley, which I guess I could see. But it was called as a targeting when his head never even came close to O'Connor's head. His head went right into his shoulder, if anything. So yeah, no, roughing the passer, I get it. But targeting? I mean, we're really going to play what is targeting with 20 seconds left in the game? I mean, come on. And then suddenly Jordan Lewis gets flagged for pass interference, even though he's getting held and he's getting interfered with. If you want to call pass interference, call OPI. It's just, oh my God. It's like the last 20 seconds took like an hour to play. And I just don't get it. It's like, I mean, were the referees hoping to extend the game because everyone was praying it was going to come down to a last-second play again like last year? And it's like, this is why I don't hold the defense responsible for giving up that touchdown, because it was in garbage time. There was 1 second on the clock. The defense is like, you know what? Fuck this. We're up by 2 scores. You can't advance the ball on an onside kick. I mean, we can't be sitting around here praying for divine intervention strike again. Just end the damn game already. So with that in mind, the fact that Michigan State went for 2, fumbled the ball, and Jabril took it back for a safety. I'm not going to call it karma, but I will call it poetic justice. That was that was a beautiful thing to see. Like, if there was anything that could ever exercise what happened last year, that divine intervention, that was it. Now, was the game on the line on that play? No. Was it as memorable as that last year's play? No. But for Michigan fans everywhere, it was very, very satisfying to see. So, yeah, that's basically my thoughts on this game. Again, Michigan did not play bad. They played a decent game, but there are things they could have been a little bit better on. And they will probably get these cleaned up, because I think they know they can't make those kind of mistakes against Ohio State and expect them to not take advantage of them, because they will. Ohio State, they're not as tough looking as they once were, but that's still going to be the biggest game of the year, obviously. That's going to decide the Big Ten championship pretty much. And Michigan's going to be on its A game for that. So I'm hoping that the game at Iowa, that'll be another game to get kind of the jitters out. That game I think is very winnable, because Iowa was exactly who we thought they were. So even though it's on the road tonight, I don't expect Michigan to falter in that game. But it'll be a good test to get all the jitters out before heading to Ohio State in that hostile environment. That's gonna be fun. But most importantly, Win's a win. We're 8-0, still in the driver's seat in the Big Ten. And most importantly of all, the Paul Bunyan Trophy will no longer be on temporary display in East Lansing. All right, so that's it for me. Thank you for watching. I will see you all next week. And as always, go Blue.